Are you gonna do the streaming as well, or do you want me to?
Oh. On my mic. Let's see if you can hear.
I'm gonna sit over here.
Yeah,
Oh, what are you doing here?
I'm just serious, I decided.
it's only been two.
Okay, I don't think I can hear anything. Is your thing up?
I am not unmuted. Or wait, but it should go through the owl is what we.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It should go through the owl and then play through your computer.
Is yours unmuted? Or you can
Um,
talk.
Or should I turn up the volume?
Yes. I think.
Okay. I don't have my mic on.
Oh, I just muted mine.
Are you unmuted? Oh, so it's probably going through
My
your computer. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, check. But I think about it.
Hello.
By the way,
So,
I'm just
wait,
speaking honestly.
Can you go to?
The idea that a
wait,
private
this-
corporation
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
set
meeting house,
government
that you'd be right.
benefits,
Okay.
So-
all those costs,
I mean,
to me,
it should work, especially because we had.
combines
Didn't
the
we-
worst of social.
Perfect, then I
That's
think.
when you
Agreed.
You can have, it could be a summer resort too also, right? They never do anything in the summer.
No.
Okay,
And
and
then,
Maddie's online, so yeah.
hey, Maddie, can you hear us?
Yes, there was an echo, but now it's gone.
Oh, yay, good, awesome.
We have 4, right? Do we have
Well,
anyone else?
2, 3.
Rabson said that he was gonna be in person.
4's enough, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
Yep.
of the board,
Yeah.
do I count?
No,
No.
Maddie,
Maddie's online.
Oh, she's
So,
online,
yeah,
but
even
not
though
in person.
Not in person, yeah, it's okay.
but she still
So,
counts.
but doesn't that mean something if we don't have it for? Well, sorry, everyone.
Oh, this board is known for doing that.
We,
They tell you they're gonna show up and then here we are online. That's fine. We'll call to order at 6:52 PM. And I'm still trying to pull up the agenda.
Maddie, are you able to take notes? Cause if not, I can this time.
Yes, I just put the agenda into the new template, so I think I'm good on that.
Thanks.
So the first thing to talk about is, some of the zero waste stuff, the plastic bag ban. Let's start there.
Yeah, so the zero waste subcommittee met, and we mostly just like did introductions and there was a good number of people on the call. I can't remember exactly how many, I wanna say like 7 people.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
Yeah, and yeah, we talked about the plastic bag ban and I think Maddie and I are going to kind of spearhead that. I'm writing an aim to be potentially in the December 3rd BOT meeting, that just talks about timeline and outreach, for that. And we talked about a lot of other potential projects, but that was mostly it for zero waste.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions on that?
do we know how much money's being raised or is it not, it's being collected?
So only one store is submitting right now and it's the cigarette shop. And they just submitted for Q3, it was like $18.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's the store.
And we at the carousel, we're keeping track of it. We just haven't been told how to submit it or
Yeah.
what we submit.
And we need to update the form actually, because it's outdated anyway, so.
Okay.
So yeah, it's okay. I think, I don't know how we're gonna manage like backlog of that. I guess just like spit it all
Yeah, we could
together.
probably, work with
I
you
mean, it's been
directly.
like $5.
Yeah, I was gonna
so far,
say.
So it's not a lot, but.
Yeah, we could probably just either, if you've tracked it quarterly, we could do like a couple different, of the forms, just to do it that way, or we could probably lump it into one if you haven't been tracking, per quarter.
Okay.
And yeah, once we get that updated, it's literally just coming in town hall, paying with check, cash, card, whatever you have. And yeah, but we'll definitely wanna do, I wanna help you guys as well, or whoever is all gonna be doing it to really get it out there and make sure they understand, help them through it. But we wanna make sure the forms are updated and proper first before we start doing all that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And so I would assume then that Smoker Friendly
Mhm.
has been submitting for a while and that's
Yes.
why they have the forms.
Sounds
Like they were one of the businesses that was in
Mhm.
compliance before the new law.
Correct. They, Rita believes they haven't been submitting the forms, but they've been submitting their payments. And so we'll still have to educate them on the forms and how to do that so we can track it.
So
Okay.
I just had one in my mailbox and they actually did
Oh,
submit the form.
So then they
But
do.
the form is the
Still the
outdated
old
form,
date.
so,
Perfect. Then yeah,
still
they've
need
been
to-
in compliance.
yeah.
Any other questions on that? So let's talk about the sustainability fee.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pass it off to Britt for this one, 'cause we had a question at the last meeting about like, kind of what the sustainability fee is and how it works.
Yeah, so I'm Britt Deming, just in case you guys haven't met me, I'm your community planner. right now, how it was written when it was done last year is we now have an addition of the sustainability fee that's on the building permits line item. And that line item specifically goes to funding CAS. And then the Nederland permit fee, if contractors submit the C&D form back to us, they can get up to 50% of that line item. Typically, we don't have a lot of people do it. So now that we have CAS, it's super helpful because I haven't had time to do this, but we really want to start educating people on finding where they can recycle some materials, because some materials you still can't recycle. There's not places in Colorado, or they're up and coming. I've seen some websites. And really, because right now it just kind of is, I email them, I explain to them, hey, I need you to fill this out. I need to see receipts. But I'm not able to have someone go out there. It's just so much coordination. I don't think Boulder County's program works well with Netherlands. So I think we have to figure out how we can do it with our contractors and with us too, basically. So yeah, so right now that's how it's written. There was talk between Rita, John, and I on, does it make sense to, because that sustainability fee is a little bit smaller, does it make sense to refund that instead and then have the Nederland permit fee be going towards CAS? There hasn't been any say on that, and maybe that's something we bring to you guys to have that discussion. But right now, as it is that sustainability fee is, we're gonna try to fund CAS so we can get her more hours. And then they can get that 50% back. But unfortunately, it's just most contractors don't waste the time with that amount that they can get back. But I am finding they're still recycling and diverting. It's just some of them don't care. So hopefully in the future, once we figure out what the form's gonna look like and how we can make this work, we can be checking in with them and just making sure they're doing it even if they don't want that amount back. Does that make sense? And I'm happy to send you guys like the little kind of pamphlet Miranda made that explains like the fee. But honestly, I'd say last year and even this year, I've probably gotten 3 or 4 back. And we've had several permits. We are finding people are pulling permits a lot more often now. And I mean, probably about 10 to 12 a week right now, so.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have pretty hefty, hefty weeks. We have our slower weeks, about 5 or 6.
Is that permitting fee per permit or per?
Yes,
Percent of the project.
yeah, so it's based on the valuation of the project. The only thing that I've found, and I've kind of been doing this, is like people doing new solar. I don't find that it's fair to charge them that fee because they're not really getting rid of anything.
Mhm.
Or if someone is, I think that's pretty much it. If there's a project where I don't find that they can recycle or properly dispose of, then I just make the call if that's not really appropriate. And that also discourages people from complying with pulling a permit. So yeah,
Yeah. And what percentage of is it a percentage point on the valuation?
yeah, it is a percentage point. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get those numbers and email it to you
I'm
guys.
It's often burdensome, like the
Yeah.
process of documenting
Yeah.
your tipping is, I've been on the end where
Yeah.
you're tracking that, and it's burdensome for them, and I can only imagine it's burdensome for
Yes.
you, so if the stick isn't big enough,
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, it's great because people are all about the sustainable fee because they're happy to be funding it, but yeah, it's just, it just ends up sitting there, which is really sad. But I think if we are able to engage more with CAS, we could probably see that turn around, hopefully. But yeah, there's just not, I looked into it the other day and there's just not a lot of recycling for certain materials yet. That I noticed, but I like water heaters, you can do metal and stuff, so I have been trying to connect people with those people. So yeah, I think it's just more educating people and if they're even interested, because some of these, as you're saying, like the project valuations some of them aren't very high and people aren't really interested,
Mhm.
so. Any more questions? And if I can't answer them, I
No,
can
yeah, I
definitely
think
email
the
you.
clarification was just, that yes, they are 2 separate
Mhm.
fees
separate.
that are both feeding into that line item, but they're two
Correct.
separate, things that we're charging.
Yep.
And so is there, I guess my only other question is, what permits besides the new solar, like you say, don't pay for that C&D?
Let's see.
Cause I'm sure there's scenarios, but.
Yeah, life safeties. So life safety inspection, any new business that's going into someone's, I don't do any additional fees on that.
Mhm.
We still do the fee on new builds.
Yep.
Yep, and trying to think, other than that, that may be. Oh, so this is something that I probably need to discuss with John, but a lot of people are getting generators right now. And I also don't know
Yeah.
that that's fair because they're putting in new gas lines, getting a generator. There's really nothing they can dispose of. And it's really just not sure that I should make that call, but it's more so that I just don't want to discourage people from also pulling these permits and doing the right thing. I still want to fund that, but that was some of the board's concern when we originally added this is it bumped up the fees a little bit more than some other cities.
Mhm.
And so I just want to make sure I'm doing appropriately for the projects. So that's pretty much the only other one is all these generator permits. I don't feel that's appropriate.
Mhm.
But other than
That makes
that, it's charged on everything else.
Any other questions?
Bunch of generator permits, sounds like we should be talking about energy storage, but.
Yeah.
You can put a pin in that for later.
Yeah, so there was a microgrid opportunity through Excel, and this building has a microgrid that's capable of powering more than just the building on backup and generator. I'm not sure where that is in the stages with Excel. But so we have part of that.
Yeah.
We have the beginning kind of stages of that. And I think part of that process is also Excel trying to figure out, is this something that they want to keep pursuing as a company or not? And so they're kind of trying it out in these different places, and seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, that was something reviewing the scorecard was, I was like, oh, where do we have like resilient places in the case of a power outage in the
Mhm.
winter or anytime, but like especially in the winter,
Mhm.
this fire season. This building, I know the generator kicks on at the school, but I assume it's generally not accessible. So
Probably, and it probably only powers non-essentials, just to keep things going, not necessarily everything, because I know like at the carousel, we have a backup generator also, but it can't power the carousel.
Right.
It keeps on, like our servers and stuff, and, the emergency lights and that kind of stuff, but it really can't hold a lot of juice, and so it just runs on the bare minimum to hopefully last for 2 or 3 days before
yeah,
it
Yeah,
dies.
and there has been talk as the comp plan's going about, obviously we have this giant piece of land in our industrial zone. And looking at, does it make more sense to be like light industrial, which microgrids are allowed? Could we do something over there, like the burnt down house?
Mhm.
Nothing ever happens there. So that's been talked to, people are interested in, does microgrid make sense over there, just to add to it.
Mhm.
I think it could be a really good idea if we keep that industrial and change the uses in there, maybe to like light industrial. But yes, they're like, I could pull the numbers, they're probably at least 3 generator permits a week right now. I mean, they're everywhere.
are they mostly residential? I would assume.
Mostly residential, but obviously there's a lot of residents that, I mean, I've seen some of the prices on these, it's not affordable for everyone, but yeah, mostly residential and probably a couple commercial here and there. And like the food pantry is about to do one and
Mhm.
yeah,
That's good.
yes.
Don't lose your refrigeration.
In terms of short-term options, since creating a microgrid takes longer, has there been any talk about advertising the community center or someplace as like a resilience hub or someplace people can go if their power is out and it's freezing in their house?
Yeah, this is a designated emergency shelter,
Okay.
so anytime the town, the county has an emergency,
Mhm.
they may activate this as so like when we had the power outages in May or whatever with that huge snowstorm, they
Mhm.
activated this place. People could come get warm, charge their phones, hook up their water kettle and make coffee.
And people like used that. Okay, that's good.
Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Which is why it was important to get this place a backup generator.
Exactly.
You know, before kind of we looked at anything else. And I think that's also why Excel was willing to partner with us is because it is an emergency shelter. And so they're putting a microgrid in, you know, that space rather than just a private neighborhood so we can all have power when everybody else in Colorado is suffering.
Right. Yeah.
And I think part of that too, just like we experienced with putting in the EV chargers, is if we do put in big batteries like that, that we have to make sure the grid has the infrastructure
Mhm.
to handle that, as well. So,
Yeah. Definitely.
scorecard, did you guys meet, about the scorecard at all yet? Or update
That
on
has
that?
not
No?
happened, so we should probably schedule.
We didn't meet, I have notes, but we can
Okay,
go through that.
if you want to
offline.
talk about your notes, I mean, or
Yeah.
whatever we think is a good use of time.
I'm happy to meet offline, and consolidate notes before we do it. I think, as I went through it, some of the language is slightly dated and could be updated.
Yeah, over 10 years ago.
Yeah. And then I think, there were some things that like I started out reading, I was like, oh, this should probably be in here. And then I got to the last like 8 and 9 on the last 2 pages. I was like, oh, here we're talking about walkability. Okay, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I would have expected that in other places as well, which I don't think I'm inclined to be change something if it's just an organizational thing. Is like
Mhm.
the folks who are using it can understand where that's captured.
Mhm.
I think yeah, there were a couple other minor points, but maybe if we just grab some time and go through, make some live edits in the, I still haven't seen, I don't think I've seen
The form.
I've seen the form,
Okay.
not the, like, I guess we could just edit the form as,
Yeah, so
if it's got versions controls.
there's one that's called NED definition of sustainability and backup copy of scorecard, V 2.6.
Yes, so you keep the backup copy
Yeah,
and you make a copy of it
right.
Okay,
and then
But that's the most updated
go
one.
through and do your edits. I
So-
believe so.
Okay, I mean, that's, yeah, the only one in here that says that, so.
yeah,
Yeah, we can do live edits on a copy of that one.
So
And
can I
so-
add something
Yeah.
I've been thinking about? Just I guess being here this week, it's like the USGBC Green Build conference. And one thing that's come up a lot is LEED for cities. And I kept thinking about that and all of the tools that they have for LEED for cities and also LEED for communities, and wondering if we can like pull in bits and pieces of that, because I feel like it could kind of be like a plug and play updated checklist for us. I haven't dug into like the guidebook and the scorecards that they have yet, but I'm just wondering because, I kind of agree with what Jack said. Some of the stuff is a bit outdated. If we take something like LEED for cities or LEED for communities, especially as they're going into their V5 update, and kind of use that as a model, it might give us more access to like future updates and also some other resources that we might want to use to kind of have things trickle down to evaluating projects or getting the community involved. So I know that's like probably a much bigger thing than just revising some things on the scorecard, but just something that's been kind of on my mind thinking about the revisions or edits.
No, I think that's a really good point, and I was in conjunction at like the tail end of when they were completing their lead for communities for cities. And they received the like certification and everything. And I know that the way that they scored things was like a bit more complicated than like just how we're using the scorecard. So but some of that might be helpful just because it's more like relative to like what is more important than something else.
Yeah, I guess the fundamental lead tends to be quantitative or at least binary. Whereas pretty much everything, like our scorecard reads like tendencies, so it's like qualitative or subjective, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It can fit more within it. A lot of times some of the challenges with lead is like it misses the holistic picture, or you end up doing things that don't make sense because there's a point in there.
I think that's why we'd probably just pull what
Yeah.
makes sense out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the question was like, is there preference for the more flexible and subjective or the more rigid within our group?
I think I'm hesitant to do a whole lot of changes to make it more robust. I think there's definitely updates we need to do. But I'm just thinking of like when I fill out the Colorado Green Business application to be a certified green business, there's just 90% of it that doesn't even apply to my business. And somebody who's doing high scale manufacturing in Denver absolutely is going to fill out every page, right? And so I think there is some value to having it specifically for our town, for our citizens, what we need, but I'm totally open to like pulling out pieces from the newer lead documents to see like what can help us make this look better. And so I'd say that you guys should just meet and kind of talk about what you might recommend. And we can come back when you feel ready with a draft copy and discuss those kind of recommendations as a group and go from there.
That's great.
Should
Let's
we-
try. Go ahead.
Should we set a
Sorry.
target of meeting before? I feel like our meetings got moved around, so maybe meeting before the end of the year and then bringing it to the January meeting. I just want to give ourselves like reasonable time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Can
think
we-
that makes sense.
Can we try and have our first meeting like as soon as possible?
Mhm.
In case, yeah, I think it'd be good to,
like before Thanksgiving or.
that would be awesome from my perspective. Maddie, I don't know. It sounds like you're traveling. Where is Greenville this year?
It's in Philadelphia, but I'll be back next week. So, and we can always do a Teams thing.
Awesome. So let's maybe.
Yeah, Maddie and I can talk about scheduling that.
Yeah. I was gonna send an email to get the conversation going, but
Sounds good.
Cassidy, what email do you use?
Sustainability.
Code.org.
There you go.
And Maddie, what's the best email on your side?
It's woodsml57@gmail.
Okay, awesome. Move that offline or online rather.
Anything else on the scorecard?
I think shoring up some resilience language. I think it had,
Mhm.
especially for something written 10 years ago, it had a lot in there, and I think
We
doing a
didn't
little
call it
more
resilience back then, but yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially like bringing in shelter and resources available during extreme weather or other events would be good to consider. But that, I think that was the only other thing, and then just some wording stuff
Mhm.
from page 2 that could be cleaned up. It's
Yeah.
like really minor.
Cool.
But let's
Yeah, back then we talked about like carrying capacity of the environment.
Mhm.
You know, and to the seventh generation of people, and that's the kind of realm that was written in, right? Is we were thinking of resilience, but it wasn't quite that narrow and focused like it is a thing now.
Just we're say that.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to mention for the natural environment delegates was a thank you to Alan for sending this along. I don't know who else read it. But the Ross Gold Mine, needs to submit a designated mining operation application by January 17th, 2025. Or they will basically if they fail to submit it, then their permit enters final reclamation. So they're kind of in a key point in time right now that we should keep track on of, are they gonna try to submit this permit, expand their gold mining operations, keep, make it a big mine again, or are they gonna fail to do so? So just wanted to note that, and try to have folks keep tabs on that.
So we're just trying to see what they do essentially and
Yeah, they've been applying to try to expand the mine for a while. The department has always come back with some sort of problem and hasn't approved the permit. So this is kind of their next chance in January. And we'll see what happens.
so if they apply but it's denied, they don't necessarily enter the final reclamation date. Do we know if that's true or?
Yes, I think that's correct, is that they would then be put back into another process where they try again. Or I think they're trying to see, are they just gonna sell it and give up, as the business, or are they really gonna still try to pursue that piece of land?
I were on mining, just to add
Mhm.
this in here. I'm not sure if you guys are keeping up with PC or not, but, at our meeting next week, we are making amendments to the use group table where that's no longer allowed in town.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
Mining was no longer allowed in town.
Yeah, that's
Probably
what,
Should
yeah.
have been done a while ago.
Yeah, it was Roger Cornell was saying, or Commissioner Cornell was saying that originally they kept it in there for kind of like that historical value. But the Board of Trustees brought up, they didn't feel it was appropriate anymore. So when we had SC group, the comprehensive plan group, come in, we discussed it with PC and everyone kind of felt it was appropriate. Let's just remove that. So we will be going with that ordinance next Wednesday and then taking it for the Board of Trustees. The next meeting, we can get on the Thursday.
Just out of curiosity, when is the last time there actually
Was
was
mining.
mining in the town limits?
Well, I would have to do some digging on that, but there's no current operations. I mean, I think it was probably Wolf Tongue. I mean, I don't even know how long ago that was. Yeah, and they have no interest in
40s?
that.
Right.
Yeah.
50s?
The Conger mine was not within town limits. I
Nope.
think that was
No.
That's
maybe the early
unincorporated.
70s when that
Mhm.
finally stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Compromise that on peak to peak.
It's off of Indian Peaks. There's really only like a foundation left.
It's the big hole.
No, if you drive past that Caribou Ridge development or whatever it's
Yeah.
called, and there's like a trail that goes to the north and then it worms its way back into Mud Lake.
Yeah.
And if you go down this trail, it goes down a little hill, and then right there's a bunch of foundations,
Mhm.
which was the old foundations for the Congo mine.
Yeah.
There was another little mine, I can't remember what it was called, up the top of the hill, and there's a sort of an empty space there where that mine used to be. And they were
Mhm.
both tungsten mines. I
Mhm.
just can't remember what that one was called. And then across the street on the south side, there's this big concrete area with one of those mining reclamation stakes in it. And that was another little mine there, but none of that's in the town limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, SE Group did note, there's a lot of towns right now that are reopening their mines
Hmm.
because materials or the minerals and such are going up. So something they just noted, I guess some are opening back up, but most people don't feel it's still appropriate here, at
Yeah.
least not in that industrial area.
I think the Congo line is played out, that's why.
Well, and really within the town limits.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of
Mm-mm.
resources to be pulled. I mean, there's mining pits everywhere, but how many
Yeah.
actual mines
Yeah.
within town limits? Not a whole lot. Most of it's
Yeah,
up a little higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'd all be in support of that, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody
perfect.
against it?
Gladly, yeah. Just thought
Still
we
do
were on it.
Stimulated gold panning, mining museum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? As long as
They
nobody's
have that.
prevented from digging a hole in their backyard.
They actually put a little bits of gold in.
I used to do that when I was a kid.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they do it every weekend down there.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, we're gonna have to, I have not gotten.
I don't know if they do it every weekend,
I
but
think
in
it's
the
like a
summer,
couple
they do
weeks
it a
in the
lot.
summer.
I see kids down there all the time.
A reasonably serious question. Netherlands the first place in mining country. That's not true. How do you keep tabs on cleanup and status of mostly inoperative mines? Is there?
Well, the only one that's really has anything is the one up at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Everything else is old and abandoned.
Yeah.
Yep.
And was, I think, old and abandoned before they started having requirements to
Yeah,
do
like
any
1870s,
remediation.
1890s.
Like,
yeah.
the Congo mine actually still has a shaft there with a grate over it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And, there's that sort of hopper at the bottom that's just there.
right.
So there's nothing to really keep track of.
Yeah.
And I think that
I would say we rely on the federal government.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
and the
you know,
state mining
yeah.
agency to some
I
degree.
know that the county has been big in the last, couple years about closing up open holes on their open space.
Yeah,
But they very much still tell people hiking, like, be careful, there are old mine shafts that there's not a lot we can do about it. Like,
Yeah.
we just don't know where everything is, to be honest.
And I think the group that has the most comprehensive list is the Colorado Geological Survey. They
Yeah.
said,
Okay.
it says 23,000 abandoned mines, and they
Yeah.
have some characterization reports.
If you're really interested, there's a couple of websites. I think one of them is called The Diggings. And it has like a map of basically every old mine in the country.
Mhm.
I think it's amazing how many were around Netherlands.
Well, and to be honest, I think I've heard actually of a lot of people that are just hikers, they're going on their daily or their weekly hike and they happen to go past a mine and they see, oh, there's this weird color leaking out of it and it gets
Mhm.
reported. So it really is us being out there that kind
Yeah.
of makes sure these things get noticed and get reported and get followed up on. Sometimes it's totally innocuous,
Yeah.
and sometimes there are issues.
I assume some of it is like caught through, like if there was an issue, you'd be looking at downstream water quality.
Mhm.
And then, if there was an issue, you'd be like, okay, now,
Yep.
where did this come from? Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Sorry for that divergence. But yeah, new space.
Yeah, we don't have any special process of our own particularly.
I would
I'd say
not expect it
nonprofits
to.
probably do a lot more work than the federal government
Yeah.
does. RCAP meetings.
Yeah, so this is just a quick one, but I wasn't sure if y'all had any takes on the RCAP, which is the Resource Conservation Advisory Board. I know that Leah had gone to meetings before, and
Mhm.
I don't know if she had much to report in the past on that, and I just wanted to see if it was worth my time and involvement, I guess.
I think if you feel like you have time,
Mhm.
then yes,
Okay.
there's different things that can come out of there, leads on funding,
Mhm.
different opportunities and strategies. So it's good to keep your finger on the pulse there.
Totally.
And I think Erica went to those before Leah too.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in. but they are having a meeting in December that I'll go to. And then I think, I mean, technically Nederland, like Leia is on that board or was on that board.
Mm.
And they have like a recruiting month in January, so I
Okay.
will talk with them and see if I need to do anything, but.
Yeah. Drive Clean Colorado.
Yeah, so Britt and I and John had a good conversation with two people from Drive Clean Colorado about a few different programs. And I wasn't sure how familiar everyone was with that group, but they provide like technical assistance and they can like help plan like they're talking about a ribbon cutting for our new EV charger once that's up and running.
Yeah.
But that would be like something that they can help plan, and then it's less work on for me to do something like that, but then we get that extra benefit and like promotion. So that's one example. And then another is Watts at Work, which it's more about like employees. So this could be something that like other businesses in Ned that are like maybe like Wild Bear or something that's like has like a good number of employees could also be involved with, where they essentially try and encourage their employees to look into EVs and hybrid options, and they provide like a charging station, and all of that is done with help from Drive Clean Colorado, like putting on EV rides and drives and applying for like grants for chargers. So that could be something that we promote if we choose. And then the third program I wanted to talk about is charging smart communities. So it's connected to SoulSmart and it's the same, like you get a designation for your community. And the BOT just approved our letter of commitment for signing up for that like cohort. And I think it's the first like cohort they're doing in Colorado. So I think we're one of 5 communities that I know of doing that, but that's also through Drive Clean Colorado. So it's just another way for them to help us and give us direct assistance on like basically applying for grants and getting our EV chargers up and running.
Seems very ambitious.
Yeah, I was. Like me being in the building side, where it helps me is code changes. With SoulSmart, I was able to, help with the setbacks so we could get ground, solar closer to their property lines. So I'd say for like stuff like that, it's helpful. It's helpful for goals. I don't think we can necessarily, as Nederland, probably obtain some of those, but I think having those resources in those communities and, if there are smaller ones that are joining, I think it could be a good tool. And if we find that it's not useful for us, then maybe it's something we just,
Well, I was talking about the thing in the letter to these people where
oh,
we're gonna have this, we're gonna be putting in 2 chargers a year
So that
forward.
I took from our goals, the SAP goals, and so I believe that's something that we can change as we revise our things.
Yeah.
So that's not
I mean,
like.
It's a great goal,
yeah,
totally in favor.
it's
I just
not obtained.
thinking about the issues that happened with the level 3 charger and still ongoing. And the complaints people seem to have about exclusive parking for electric vehicles and stuff. I just wonder. If 2 a year, I mean, I'm thinking 10 years, that means we'll have installed 20. That's,
Well, I think it was until we have enough.
okay.
Yeah.
Not forever into the future.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
through what, 2025, right? So we only have 1 more year on these goals before we have to make new
But
ones.
this seemed to be like this letter, this new thing. We're gonna, and it didn't really have
Gotcha.
it almost seemed like in perpetuity. It'd
Yeah.
be great. I would love to have 20 chargers in town,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
why.
You know, I'm looking at the silver though,
Yeah.
and beyond bronze criteria, which is standardized EV charging infrastructure, permitting, just permitting. The silver designees have completed a fleet analysis, which Pi did for us, installed a public charger, which we've done, and changed zoning requirements to allow easier and cheaper deployment of EV.
Yep.
So I don't think there would be a whole lot we'd have to do.
No. We wouldn't. I would say from the person who took over the charger with Cass, I don't think 2 is reasonable a year. I do think now that you have a solid team and we could get a charger that's, you know, still a company, because the company is out of business, that would be more helpful. But I think it would be cool. We've been chatting with businesses and helping them.
Yeah.
With the grant that we were able to use to purchase it, where town staff is helping them, but obviously not putting the funds in there,
Mhm.
unless they want to have those conversations, which is not happening this year. But yeah, I think 2 every 2 years might be reasonable or something along that lines. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I think it's something you guys should look at. I do think it could be easier in the future. I think we're a pretty good team here, but yeah, we've just so many complications with this one, but we're still trucking on it.
Well, you know, I just,
Yeah.
one thing that occurs to me is that,
Yeah.
if they ever put something in that old German restaurant,
Mhm.
like what they've been talking about,
Yes.
that would seem to be the types of businesses I was reading about that they were thinking about. Would
Mhm.
really want to maybe draw in motorists. And EV motorists probably spend more than other motorists, and some chargers up there. And I think the town owns some of that parking area. So it seems to be a
believe
good spot.
So, yeah, and they're actually moving forward on that permit finally with the drive and stuff. So, and we have they have a new manager. That lot is owned by Tebow. So I
Right.
think that's a conversation that could definitely be had now that we have that connection.
Yeah, I think that was something we were wondering last time, is that back end parking along Back Forest? Is any part of that owned by Tebow, or is it 100% town?
Is it town or is that?
It's all town.
Because
Okay.
it got pushed in from where it was. So did he give up some easement or,
I don't know. That was before me. I
yeah,
think that's
I can
actually,
definitely do some digging.
yeah, we can find out.
because I think in the past that hasn't really been a spot that we've looked at, because the private property issues
Mhm.
that we deal with Charger Head Colorado and getting the grant for the chargers.
Is it power?
So if it's public land there,
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that,
It's definitely right away.
Now, is there enough room for charger and parking? I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah.
not, but maybe we could still make the connection if Tebow's manager would be interested.
Isn't there like big retaining wall there, though?
Yes, yeah, and they are gonna
Well,
be making some updates to
this
that.
is the thing, is several of us have talked to Tebow about doing it in the shopping center parking lot. And he's not so far interested in doing so.
Okay,
And so I think that's why I'm like, oh, if it's public land.
Yeah.
Then maybe we can use that spot.
yeah, I can do some digging on the survey lines there, the boundary lines.
And of course, we'd have to know, does Excel have the infrastructure in that area to put one in? Probably not. We'd probably need that upgraded too.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we can talk to them. They're looking at, from what we were hearing on the energy meeting we were on, they're, I think, reconfiguring their funding and budget right now.
Okay.
So we'll see some more this new year, I think.
And then the Watts at Work thing. This is for like, let's say Tebow at his shopping center to put an EV on their private business property.
Yes,
Okay.
and I think it's the primary idea is that it would be to encourage employees who work there to drive EVs so they can charge, even if they are technically public chargers.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant that that's gonna be something that we're gonna be able to take very far in Nederland.
Yeah, I think that this is something that's really more intended for stuff like office
Yeah.
parks and stuff, and businesses where you have office workers.
Yeah.
I just don't think that. Wild Bear, sure, I think that they might want to put in some chargers, but other than
They
that,
already are, yeah.
yes, other than that, I just don't know that it's really worth anyone spending any time on.
Yeah.
Just-
In Nederland.
As a note, I wanted to, when you're talking about wild bear.
Yeah.
There is some additional space on the right of way there, like on the street side.
Mhm.
And we talked about the other day about potentially, could we add diagonal in parking there, which would help their business, but that could be the other place that we put that. And Excel, I don't know if you saw, but they just undergrounded power there,
Mhm.
and they did stub it out so that it could potentially have. Like all the infrastructure wouldn't be that hard to put in there, so that the only problem is it's not like it's the most walkable location for anywhere else, but there could be in that, but that does serve the byway there, but there could be maybe 40 to 60 parking spots. And then we also talked about the potential to look for an electric transit, which there is money from RTD for that to do like maybe 250,000 to sort of electric trial transit.
Like an electric
Circulator.
bus.
Yeah, just a circulator around town. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That's not a very developed conversation, but it's something that might be a possibility.
Mhm. What we have done with Drive Clean Colorado in the past, which I think is great, and I would ask you to ask them if they still do this, is with part of the Watts for Work, they do the EV ride and drive workshops.
Mhm.
And we've done that at the farmer's market several times.
Right.
So, you know, if we could still do that, that would be great. And if it's not something they're focusing on anymore, then, you know, that's
Is that
fine.
just putting people in an EV
Mhm.
so they can experience how.
Somebody knowledgeable there, yep, to really sell you on EVs aren't so terrible.
It's also-
Here, check it out.
Yeah, and like a huge part of that, I think, is having people who know about the rebates.
Yeah.
Because that's really difficult to kind of explore on your own. So
Yeah.
having someone to like explain that to you, especially EV owners who've like done that, have gone through that process already. I think that's like even more valuable. But
Yeah. Yeah. And having just different kinds there.
yeah.
You know, everybody knows what a Prius is, but not everybody knows what's the difference between a Prius and a Bolt and a Rivian and so, yeah.
Yeah, I think the ride and drives are very valuable as well, so we can definitely talk to them about that.
Yeah, it would have been sweet to have all of the options lined up. Especially like for folks in Nederland 4-wheel drive.
There's only a couple.
Oh. There's more than 2,
Mhm.
but there's not.
Yeah, there's more now.
So with the charging smart program.
Mhm.
Help us with. Like any facets of installation, or is it just? To help with. The coding and stuff, like, could they support you in writing the Charter Head Colorado grant and stuff like that?
Yes, so they said they cannot write the grant for us, but they can help us, they can review it, like kind of give us ideas of what to put in it, but I think they're just not able to write it for us because of
Mhm.
legal things. But yes, they definitely talked a lot about that. They also said that they would be willing to come here to one of our meetings and talk to you guys about like the grant application coaching and other things that they provide.
Mhm. Yeah, cause I felt like even though, you know, going through Soul Smart. There were some code changes we made, you know, but I did feel like that. Technical review committee and then the weekly meetings we had kind of talking about code. I felt like all of that was really valuable and helpful. And so I guess for me, I'm leaning towards saying, yes, let's try it out and see what they can offer us and how helpful it is. But if it starts to feel like it's just another thing you have to check off on a box, then like not a priority, right?
The way that it sounded in our meeting was that it would be a way to kind of pull in all the different moving parts and kind of manage it from one program. So
Yeah.
they would kind of help us stay on track with our goals and like make sure that we know what we need to do next and that would be super helpful for me.
Yeah.
Because I am not as familiar with installing EV chargers. And yeah, I think it would be very helpful just to make sure we're staying up on the grant opportunities, and deadlines, and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I guess, would you want, Drive Clean Colorado to come present at one of these meetings? And we can also do this, like, we can see how Charging Smart goes, and then like, if there's a need for it, we can do it later.
Sure.
I'd be
Yeah.
down to hear from Drive. Yeah.
Okay,
It's been a while since we talked to him.
Yeah,
okay,
and I think that we can, if it makes it easier, make arrangements for them to do it, over the TV or something.
right.
They don't have
instead
to
of-
drive up here.
Yeah. I will, next time we chat, I'll let them know.
Is there a reference point for how many fast chargers and level 2 chargers is enough for
Well, it's a good
a
question.
town of our size with our traffic? Because that's kind of like,
So first of all, about 6,000 cars a day in the summer drive through here. But we are part of the, Partners in Energy is doing like a regional EV plan.
yeah,
And so it's the peak to peak corridor. And so there is some sort of designation within that plan of how many we need in the corridor to make sure that people can get all along the scenic highway, peak to peak highway, and not have to worry or be scared about charging.
yeah.
So I don't say we have a number, but there's a broader regional number.
I would suspect that most of those chargers need to be. We're kind of the center of the.
We are,
peak,
we
right?
are the hub, and I think I think the chargers up at Eldora are part of
Okay,
that regional plan. The issue is they're up at Eldora, and so it's not convenient for a traveler to drive up there and charge their car for 2 hours because,
I mean, that gate is mostly locked in the
Yeah.
summer, right? Like,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
since they closed the hiking up there, it is. I don't know if they're ever planning on opening that back up, but
So
Yeah.
there's, Leaders in Energy has a number somewhere based on.
yeah, there should be, I'll see if I can find it, while you guys are talking about the next thing, OCED. I'll try to find that, plan document somewhere.
Was
Yeah,
there
so-
anything in the well, I don't know if it would be in the multimodal improvement plan? There was any research done for that?
I don't know if they ever connected to Partners in Energy Regional EV Group. That would actually be a good question. I don't think they did.
I have a meeting with them next week. I can ask.
Well, anything else on that? So yeah, the OCED, and I'm not sure, this just was in one of the emails I received, and so I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention in case there was anything, that you think would be applicable that you maybe already had in the works, like, for this grant. So, it's focused on rural and remote communities, and just improving energy. And so far from what I've heard, like, we have ideas for, microgrids and, improving our infrastructure, but like not necessarily a plan for anything. And so it just might not be, relevant to us right now with like where we're at, trying to submit something by their deadline. But I wanted to at least bring it to your attention, just in case.
It's not loading.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time too. Okay. Oh, here we go.
You can look at my. Yeah, so it's just about pursuing clean energy, and they have a bunch of different categories.
Don't need to be reading over your shoulder.
No, that's
Alright.
Oh,
fine.
I've got it.
Okay, cool.
To help direct air capture developers address challenges in raising
So DEFOA.
project investment capital.
Yes.
I wonder. I mean, I haven't read through all of these, but without having our own. Like energy company as a municipality. Do we even qualify for some of these, or did they go to the energy producer?
Right, I mean, the way I read it, it was for communities, but
Okay,
I have definitely not like read through the entire NOPO, so
yeah,
yeah, it could just be that it's not very applicable to us, or we would need to like partner with Excel on something, which doesn't give us very much time to do that.
What's the amount or the budget?
So the expected dollar amount of individual awards, 3 million to 50 million.
Okay. And I guess is this budget subject to, like, has this budget been allocated already?
So like different projects or,
What is the likelihood it gets retracted, next year?
oh, like if they're gonna open it again, or.
Or
'cause
are
I
you
think it-
asking like, could the
think it's a-
incoming administration decide to
Yeah.
nix the program?
Oh, I
yeah,
see what you're
I-
saying. Okay,
I don't
yep.
think so. At least from what I'm looking for, I don't think so. This is, if it's in the grant application phase, then those funds are there sitting in an account somewhere.
Okay.
Um,
Do
Did
we
you-
have the capacity and resources to like, I guess, to prepare everything in the federal grant application? I've been through a couple of federal grant applications, and sometimes they're just far more complex than some of the local ones. And like, do we need an economist to do a benefit cost analysis? And like, is the town registered with sam.gov, and I guess have all of those things ready?
Registered,
Yes.
because we
Yes.
just had to check that. But you're right, like there are a lot of other factors, and if we don't have like a project in mind, I don't know that it makes sense to try and come up with something just to.
I mean, seeing microgrid on there, I'm like, oh, well, it'd be
Right.
great to get one on the other side of the creek somewhere, you know?
Mhm.
But that would be a longer discussion with Excel because we don't own our energy
Yeah.
grid. Whereas if we were a municipal,
They would like.
we have a municipal energy
I have
company.
talked to them briefly about that. They brought it up when I met with them.
Yeah, we talked about 3 with them
Yeah.
in total.
They were talking about kind of behind BNF somewhere potentially. And that could help with that whole neighborhood over there. And then we've also talked about the generators for the water stations, like Caribou Ridge and up by above the school.
Yep,
Those ones are a little vulnerable to any kind of crisis situation, so that could be another potential opportunity. And
okay,
then just other ones throughout the town. But I think they have some interest in working with us on that.
yeah. You know, that's the thing that sticks out to me, but I would say watch that webinar first. Get a sense of like, is it important?
Mhm.
Like, you know, like, is it gonna work for us or not? But as far as a project that big, I mean, that's really what we're talking about for a small community like this, is a big, you know, solar garden installation, which we don't really have space for,
Mhm.
or a microgrid, which we have talked about, and we have done one successfully, so let's keep that going.
Yeah. Had we gotten PSPS events before last spring?
PSPS,
Public safety power shutoffs?
Yes, but
Yes.
they were less
Just-
frequent, right?
Okay,
we just have one.
before last May.
Oh,
I think,
rarely,
yeah,
No, I
there's
don't
been a
think-
couple.
rarely.
I don't think Excel started doing it up here until the Marshall fire.
Yeah,
And,
Right. Yeah, if we can figure out how to get some funding for some more resilience and bring in Excel as well, if they're
I think
interested
that's,
in that.
I think that's why, is because they want to start shutting it off more frequently.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. So
Yeah.
this is our evacuation center, which is also for warming in the wintertime. This building. So there is a giant generator over here and that microgrid they built, which is,
This
Okay. but did you say it's gonna did you guys talk about it's getting interconnected, I think,
Mm-mm.
this week or next week?
To
Nope.
the
Yeah, they built
neighborhood.
the microgrid, but they never connected it. So
Yeah.
they're supposed to connect
Yeah.
it like imminently.
Okay, cool. I knew it wasn't connected yet, and it was supposed to be, and that's all
Well,
I
that's a good
knew.
win for us.
Is that a generator or a battery?
There's both.
Both.
Okay.
The generator's massive though. It could run this whole neighborhood.
It's like the size of a building.
Is it designed to do that? To run the neighborhood?
It's not all interconnected properly, but it could potentially do that. So that's something that could be a part of a project in the future.
Yeah,
I think we'd love to have microgrid support and like maybe we've talked about a mobile microgrid as well.
Mhm.
And I think one of our vulnerabilities is BNF because when they lose power, they lose frozen food.
Everything.
right.
So if we had a mobile microgrid, it could potentially move, and that could be a regional application maybe, where we could have more money to build something, like they'll build them to like school buses or something like
Mhm.
that. But then you could move it if it needed to move.
Mhm.
But I think that would be something we need to just figure out what that would look like.
Yeah. Um. My read on um, the, OCED FOA is that it is financing for infrastructure, not for planning, but that's just from the goals, deliver measurable and sustained benefits.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too.
Which,
But it could be a place where we work with Excel. They work on design, we have money for infrastructure, right? And so I think that doesn't put us outright out of the water. I just don't know what all the particulars are.
I think.
It's also due
Go
on
ahead.
February, like at the end of February, so I feel like it's something to continue to consider for next year, but I don't know, just in my personal experience assembling these kinds of applications with teams, like it's good to know about it and then plan for the next cycle, because it's really challenging to put all the information together in 3 months, if it's just a concept on November
Yeah.
14th.
Yeah,
For sure. And we're looking, we're all looking at the same one, right? The one that is the preliminary application is due in February, and then the full built-out application is in August.
Yeah, I think that's what I,
Okay,
So, yeah, so it's more like the letter of intent is due in February, and then the full application is due in August.
yeah, and I haven't looked at what that like concept paper would entail necessarily yet, so.
Yeah,
we can also look into the
Yeah.
specifics of that.
I think given it like the two-stage submission, I think it'd have to be a small piece that we'd be confident fits in with a broader like resilience plan or a broader microgrid, right? Like it's probably not the whole. We mentioned three different microgrid type projects.
yes, and all of them are things that Excel, you know, what has been involved in the conversation with. So there, I guess I would be pulling on their expertise and their plans and their, you know, proof of concepts to be able to do anything. I don't feel like it's something we could go for on our own at all.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have the direction you need? Yes.
I think so at this point, yeah, and, do you, since the concept paper isn't that far away, do we feel okay for like me to research this and then bring kind of my findings, to the next meeting, or would you like any sort of update before that? Then the next meeting is December 18th.
I think asynchronous update before that would probably be
Mhm.
appropriate.
When's our next call with Pi?
Just schedule that,
Is it
yeah.
next week?
Yes, it's next week on Thursday.
Okay. Let's try to, just bring briefly the idea with them and see who the best contact at Excel would be for that. Cause I know we have like our community person seems to be a different person every year. And so maybe that's who we're supposed to be reaching out to, but if it's somebody else,
It just changed.
they'll know.
I think I have the new contact, I think.
Okay.
I'll double check. But it just changed like a week ago or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the last woman we tried to deal with was totally ignored Garrett and I. We emailed back and we emailed her several times before
From
we
Pi?
finally got a response. No, from Excel.
Oh, okay, well,
Which is why I'm saying, let's run it past Pi
Yeah.
and see who they think our best contact at Excel would
Yeah.
be. And before then, if you have time, watch that webinar, see if you can learn a little bit more about it.
good.
Yeah, when it was Craig, he was awesome. He's the one who got us signed up for this microgrid project, and then he got a promotion. And ever since then, it's been a new person, like every year or so. It's really frustrating.
One turnover.
But they're the ones that are supposed to be helping us get to our renewable energy class.
Right.
Anything else on that OCED funding?
Figure out who to talk to at Excel, understand more about the
The
submission
funding.
requirements, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Seems good, and try to get that moving before the next meeting.
Yes, yeah,
All right,
Yep.
partners in energy.
yeah, so with the EV action plan at our meeting with Pi, we talked about kind of getting the implementation going again on that action plan. which will definitely connect to, our work with Drive Clean Colorado as well. But they wanted to decide on strategies that were the most important, because we can't do everything. So from our goals, that, will probably change. We talked about trying to install 2 EV chargers per year, and that's already something that we think we want to reword and probably bring that number down. And then transition the town fleet to EV, which would be a huge cost, so definitely would need grant funding to do that. And can also need to consider the roads up here and what kind of vehicles we could have. And then just generally reduce greenhouse gas emissions from town operations, which relates to the previous one. And so in our EV action plan, I don't know when the last time this was brought forward, but I had reviewed it and found kind of 2 sections on strategies. So one was related to the town fleet. And some of those strategies were like fleet replacement plans, do EV driver training and maintenance training. So that would just be for employees of the town, I believe, is what that's referring to. So if we're going to replace our fleet, we would want people to be, aware of differences with EVs.
If the town ever does this, I would beg of you, don't spend a penny of taxpayer money on some training on how to drive an EV. I can imagine the contractors wanting to get in on that sweet action and total waste of money. If you actually need training to drive an EV, which I find very doubtful, there are going to be innumerable YouTube videos that will be much more effective than some contractor would sell the town. So
Yeah,
please never do that.
I think maintenance
Yeah.
training is much more applicable, but still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with, let's see what they're, Lightning E-Motors, which is commercial EV supplier, and I don't know if they're in Denver or just outside of Denver, but they're semi-local. And I kind of talked to him about it. I sent him our fleet information and our goal to install 2 EV chargers, develop and plan train staff on EV vehicles, etc. And some of our challenges, so like the details from that plan. And he said it's definitely gonna be tough. They only have 1 vehicle right now they see that they could really realistically convert to, and that would be like our what are they, the GMC Sierra, the F-350, those,
Yeah.
they can they can replace those. They have like this truck, but it doesn't have to have the box on the back. It can have like a normal truck bed, but that's really their only vehicle option right now that they felt would be relevant for us. But they said in future years, obviously, that the market will start pushing that way, they assume, and they'll have more technology. But as of right now, as far as like, especially 4x4 access, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I think what we discussed was that there were 2 or 3 vehicles that could maybe be switched to EV for town fleet, but not necessarily the whole fleet.
After
transition.
doing the fleet analysis, that's what,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's what we talked about, and that was with, Nikki was here, Pi was here, this must have been a year ago.
Mhm.
But that we definitely don't wanna take all those guys' vehicles away.
Right, yeah,
It was more like the older one, like the 98 GMC Sierra, like
yeah.
those would be the kind of vehicles you're looking at upgrading, because they're already coming to their end of the life. We're gonna have to get a new vehicle to replace it soon anyway. Not necessarily, let's go out and buy 5 new EVs.
Right.
But as they come up to be replaced, let's see if it makes sense to replace it with an EV.
Okay, so I guess the question is that something we want to prioritize from the EV action plan, is like based on the findings and the availability of vehicles? Is that something we want to like dedicate more of our time to? Just like with Partners in Energy? Is that essentially we have other strategies that involve like community outreach events. Obviously we already talked about the car sharing program last time. Charging outreach and incentives for multifamily housing. We have, mapping public charging station locations, which I think is definitely something that is out there, but I'm not sure how like official the town necessarily, what the town has for a map of public charging stations, or like information out there for tourists and people. Also putting in more DC fast chargers and looking at the pricing structure best practices. So these are like the strategies that were developed with the EV action plan.
Yeah, I think I would love to see us get a new EV, but I know the town budget is tight, so I don't want to say yes to that in 2025, but I think
But if we had a grant,
getting help with chargers is always fantastic, because that seems to be a burdensome process, and hopefully it'll be smoother the next time around, but
so like us installing chargers, or okay.
Well, if the town has a need for town purposes, the town is gonna be able to charge it.
Yeah,
So.
right.
It's
In
kind of a
that-
multi-step process too, especially if you consider the vehicles that are nearing the end of their life, like the point at which you replace it, that vehicle is going to be around for another 10 or 15 years. And so in the next 2 years, if you're replacing something, you would want it to be an EV to meet these goals. So now is the time, kind of like Rich said, to like start planning for the chargers so that when you have that replacement come up, you're ready to say yes to an EV.
Yep.
We haven't identified match in the budget for this, just so you know. So this would be dependent on supplemental budget process. So if we
Right.
do identify, that would be what was required.
And, I'm sure the board has many priorities as
Yeah.
budget.
They can only be spent on zero waste and sustainability things.
You're saying. Board has-
I'm just saying the board, I'm sure, has many priorities for money.
Yeah.
That are far beyond, what we know about, so.
Or even if there's, I don't know if there's other grants that could be applicable to like a municipal charger.
Yes, Fleet Zero would be the one that comes to mind, but that one requires minimum 20% match, but 10% for qualifying entities, which I'm not sure if we qualify for that. But that's like the one that the Colorado Energy Office offers. So it's, one to keep in mind.
School district has a couple up at the bus depot, and I don't know what, if anything, they're used for.
Fast chargers or
Level 2.
level twos?
Maybe BVSD did this Watts for Work thing.
Yeah, could be.
That would be my guess.
They show up on charger maps, but they're not actually open to the public. So.
And then I guess earlier we talked about doing EV ride and drive, so I'm guessing that would be something we'd still want to prioritize, is that like community outreach.
I think that's where we get the most bang for our buck out of Pi,
Yeah,
is when we have them help us with that community outreach. Cause they pay and print all the promotional materials, they design it all, they,
Right,
you know, deal with that part.
help organize it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I know that with the level 2 and then the hopefully DC fast charger coming online soon. We talked a bit about pricing and that has to go through the Board of Trustees, right? First, but like, I'm sure that's something we want to review and see, like, if we're getting any revenue from it and if we can modify the pricing at all to like be slightly more during peak times, maybe, like that's like a one strategy you can do. And there's like, you know, implementing overstay fees and all those sorts of things, which I know we've done some of that. But that's just another strategy in the EV action plan, so. I don't know if we want to spend more time on that or just. We're okay with where we're at now and see kind of how much we are generating.
Yeah, I don't know that we've gotten enough use out of it to really understand, and then also everything could change when paid parking goes through. So I'd be hesitant to do anything super different until we know what paid parking looks like and how that's working. I think myself as a sustainability board member, I'd like to see the EV spots be less costly than the regular spots to incentivize people to want to drive an EV, like, oh, I get the cheap spot if I drive electric. But that's just me. I'm a lonesome son.
To me, it would make sense if we're gonna have chargers that you don't actually pay for parking, you just pay for your electricity, which is gonna end up being more than parking.
Yeah, and I think that's what the board had done.
Yeah.
So that's why our chargers were so expensive for a while, is
Yeah.
they had factored in that $2.50 an hour.
I was wondering about that.
I just sent you an email about that, but
Okay.
it was like the week you came on, so it might have been,
Sorry.
it might have got past you, but the board charged $2.50 an hour plus the cost of electricity on those EVs.
That's what we did.
And then paid parking never ended up happening and people were still paying more than $2.50 an hour for their EVs. And then there was that post on Facebook about the dude who was super, what, I forget his name. I know who he is though. He charges all the time. He unplugs the car share and charges his, but maybe. But anyway, that's why it was so high, is
did
because they
both.
had factored that in.
In Idaho Springs too, we did keep it free on electric for the parking part. And I think
Yeah.
that's a board conversation, but that's not, I don't think an issue.
So yeah, so just because I'm gonna bring this to Pi at our next meeting, definitely community outreach, EV ride and drives. Installing, you know, fast chargers and other chargers, and getting help on grants and such for that. And fleet replacement plans for like what is available now. And when our cars, like when our vehicles get to the point where they need to be replaced, then we like consider what we can replace them with and what makes sense. And then also charging infrastructure for our fleet vehicles.
Yeah, so I think the fifth thing to focus with on Pi as far as EVs in 2025 is really like installing chargers, whether that's public or on a town facility. Whatever seems to make sense with the funding that's available. And that kind of outreach piece, I would say the other things are a lower priority to me.
Okay.
I guess the one way of framing that is you're prepping the way to enable people to drive EVs up here, right? Like the public advocacy, you're providing the chargers, you're trying to remove those barriers. And we'll worry about the town fleet when it, when we need to, and
Yeah.
like, it'll be easier if we have a bunch of people driving EVs up here. At that time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we already required the capability for a charger to be installed on new construction, right? They have to have like the infrastructure to install one on a new home? Or is it just a certain size home that they have to have it? Like, they don't have to have an actual charger, but they have to have the, you know, like
Capability.
you'd hook up a trailer or whatever
Yeah.
outside so that
Yep.
somebody could plug one in. Yeah,
So 240.
thanks. 220. Right? 220.
I was gonna say, I need to double check. I
I'm pretty sure that was part of our most recent code update.
think so, yeah.
I remember it being talked about. And 100% renewable plan?
Yeah, so, Britt, Melody and I all met with Ty, and we discussed, so EV action plan as well as our renewable plan, and we are waiting to hear from them, so I think we'll probably be talking about that at our next meeting. But I sent the, spreadsheet that was given to us by CU Boulder, with what I could find and fill out. And they will be like basically double checking that with Excel and their data people. And we just want to know like if there's discrepancies and what they are and why. Because, you know, they're calculating our progress obviously in a different way than we are since our numbers are not matching up. And we want to be sure that we're being accurate, so then when we do reach 100% renewable, we can like accurately say that. I know that there was one point that they were gonna look into about the boundary lines, so we talked about the like town limits versus the library district, because some of their community dashboard reports were using the library district. And so that would definitely change numbers from year to year. And so wanted to double check those numbers. We talked about the like personal solar on people's houses that is not part of net metering and not part of like their solar rewards programs, but it's just hard for us to know who has that and how to calculate like how much they're generating.
So the personal solar is solar consumed behind the meter, basically.
Yes, what Excel is not tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody who's off grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that even.
Well,
like,
is it off grid or is it behind the meter consumed? Like, right, solar rewards.
Yeah,
that's for-
so I know both exist. There are some people who were so mad at Excel when they installed their solar panels that they were like, no, untie us, and they have batteries and all that.
Mhm.
And then there are people who set it up differently, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And the solar rewards, we actually don't get any of that. It doesn't count towards like Nederland specifically. I'm pretty sure that goes back to Excel and that's included in like their overall.
The
Um,
recs for that.
Yes, yeah.
we said we don't care about
Yep.
recs.
Yep.
So we do get to count it.
Well,
I'm just reiterating what has,
I believe so. I believe the way that we're calculating it is like not double counting it because so if we count the solar rewards, that's something that like Excel is keeping, right? So, because like that technically they're metering that and counting that in their renewable electricity percentage.
I wouldn't be too concerned about double counting in that sense. Because it's such a tiny percentage of,
I'll say September was fantastic. We made the most solar at the carousel that we have made since I worked there in 3 years. It was amazing. Like,
do,
we usually sell back
Like 6 or 9 kilowatts to the grid. It was 14 in September.
Yeah,
so that's probably,
yeah, we can pull reports about what they installed in their plans, but we just,
We'd have to sort through, I guess, how much they're generating.
yeah,
ideally, they have calculators for that.
Yeah, there is a calculator they told us about that we could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a PV watts probably.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
That's probably something that is meaningful and worthwhile to do.
Because it's realistically gonna be a handful of properties. It's not gonna be like 50 houses you guys are chasing down to track to find this data. I don't think it's gonna be that many.
There's a
I was thinking.
decent amount of solar
So I guess
permits.
Well, yeah,
They
but we're
aren't
talking
tied
about
through
people who
Excel.
are not.
Yeah, they're batteries. Like they have batteries versus being,
There's a
Well, you-
lot.
there,
can-
I will have to go through the
But,
permits,
but
there's.
they still might be subscribed to Solar Rewards even if they have a
that's true.
battery.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
only talking about people who are not.
we don't
subscribed to
have-
Solar.
On my permits, I don't have that. Like I would have to reach out. We'd have to reach out to them essentially. Like I don't know if there's, I don't know that component is the problem. So it would be,
Okay,
I mean, I'll do more digging through mine to see. I don't know if there's something,
And they,
no, but let
maybe,
me
but-
talk to a few people
okay.
who've been in Ned for decades and see if they just have an idea of like what this group of 10 people might be
Yeah,
that are not subscribed to Solar Rewards. I know it's not a huge amount.
and and like we can't know who is subscribed to
No.
Solar Rewards because that's obviously customer confidentiality.
Yeah.
But so like they don't have to tell us if they're part of that program or not, which, so if we do reach out, it's harder, but if there's
Yeah.
a way to get the information on who is not part of that, then
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
what would I be looking
guy.
for in the permit? Would there be wording maybe that I'd be looking for that you can think of off the top of your head?
It would be on
I
their
don't know that it
energy
would be
bills.
necessarily in the permit, but I
Yeah.
think it would be in the
Plans.
diagrams and plans
Okay.
that are submitted, and I don't know what you would look for, because you're gonna have to have the
But
infrastructure.
there is. Sorry. But there is a number somewhere and I've seen it. And maybe it's through Pi that we get this data. But there's a number that they have somewhere that is number of people that have solar but are not signed up to any Excel solar program. Can't remember where I've seen this number, but I know it's out there somewhere.
like on one of their reports, maybe.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
And like, it was under 10. It was like 7.
I don't know why you would wanna do that, honestly. It makes no sense to me.
Cause you hate Excel that much and you refuse to give them solar at a ridiculously cheap price to add to their grid to let them be all
It's not a
big
ridiculously
and
cheap price.
sustainable.
If you do it with net metering, it's the same exact price that you pay for electricity. You know, it just nets out.
Oh, well, it wasn't several years ago. So I'm talking about people who did this years ago when it was, they were purchasing back solar at like a 10%
Yeah, wholesale rate.
yeah,
Yeah.
of what it
And you can
actually,
still sign up for that,
yeah,
but it's ridiculous to do.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why people pulled off
Yeah.
grid and said, no, we're not gonna do that through Excel.
Yeah, so I'm just looking through some of the permits. Some of them do say like grid tied, but some of them don't have that information. So I just have
Yeah.
to look through the plans and see if that information is on there.
Yeah.
So I'd say the most, it would really just be, it's a lot of solar permits to go through, but we can definitely do it.
If they originally started on Excel and then took themselves off of that, would
Yeah.
that be on the permit?
Uh-uh.
No,
Okay, so that
Uh-uh.
no.
might be something that we miss.
Yeah, and I think it's less than the handful. I'm not even sure if it's important to track down
Right, it might not be worth
the entirety of that data.
I don't think it's worth your time.
Also, side note, the code is 240 for the EV.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, I am curious about this weird dip in energy use in 2022.
Yeah.
Was that what she was talking about of like maybe BNF used so much energy that we weren't allowed to get their data?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They basically, it's like if one specific premise uses more than 15%, then yeah, we can't get their data because it's like too obvious of who it is or something. So,
We all know who it is.
yeah. But they said that they got the waivers to have their data included. And so.
For
that's
that
why-
year. It was something that they have to get that waiver from them every year.
Right, so it's the next year they got the waiver, right? So
I
the,
think so.
the year where it's the dip, we just don't have the full data from.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
But it's also steadily trending down, which is cool,
Mhm.
more efficiency, right?
it's really cool to see. Especially
Um,
because they originally expected the energy amount to stay at that 12 million.
I wonder if natural gas use went up though. I'd be curious to see that. Tracked against like natural gas use.
Right.
And see if people were just switching off of electric heaters or like what. That is, cause we've installed more solar, we've built more houses, we've installed EV chargers. But our energy use is going down.
so rooftop solar will decrease that total Nederland annual consumption number. Because some amount of the solar on rooftops is getting consumed behind the meter.
Yeah, but my recollection is that they
Okay,
calculate, they estimate what they think that's going to be and then include it in the total number.
For the spreadsheet, yeah, so it
The
says.
spreadsheet, okay, so
So-
this is,
So yes, the behind the meter, but still like reported to Excel as having like gotten solar, because they can
Mhm.
only report like the number of households, I think.
yeah,
That is estimated, but then the handful of people who are completely off grid, we don't know, and probably not worth trying to find that.
okay. Yeah, so this was the permitting question for me. It was not about the people who are off grid. It was about the number that they have plugged in for how much every house that has solar is
Yeah.
consuming.
So I think they just take, like, this is the number each year that is signed up. And then the, non-solar rewards line up there, they actually like accumulate that. Like, this is an accumulation.
yeah,
It's not
that's
like
right.
specific.
I remember them explaining that now.
Yeah.
So basically,
Yep.
this is the estimate from 7 households plus the previous years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so there's. It's all, okay, so they're estimating additional KW per year.
Yeah.
Yep,
So that might just be different, like with how Excel is estimating that, number.
Gotta think that they can get pretty close.
I would think they would,
Yeah,
yeah.
Great.
yeah. I mean, I think that they have a pretty good idea of what the average house uses in electricity.
mhm,
Yeah.
And then we talked about the MOU, and
mhm,
we might, basically they were saying, depending on what we actually want from them in terms of continuing to work with them on this spreadsheet and getting to 100% renewable, we may or may not need an MOU, or they might just provide support. And then they needed to like look at their budget, I think is what,
mhm.
that's what I heard from them. And they just let us know.
Yeah, so we just did those 2 action plans with them. So we
Mhm.
did the EV action plan and then that 100% renewable energy
Yeah,
action plan-ish thing. And so now we're back at the point where we get to choose, okay, what do we want to do for graduate support with Pi this year? Do we want to do an action plan again? Probably not, because we just did those 2. Do we want to do those kind of community outreach events piece, like they helped us with it was something we did at Wild Bear, and we put on a movie and we had snacks and soda and something simple like that. That's kind of where I'm leaning. Is more community outreach type of stuff this year.
and then
But-
also just like help with the worksheet or the.
Yeah,
spreadsheet
and data.
tracking,
And data.
Data collection.
Making sure we could get their data,
Yeah.
because it's always better than what Excel gives us.
But if anybody has any big broad ideas for that.
We're doing a new thing called Town Talk, and what I've been doing is meeting people for coffee, or maybe we'll do a beer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys wanted to be there for one and have a sustainability one, it's a little bit different than that, but we've been getting pretty good turnout.
Okay.
And I just want to offer that if you guys want to.
I'm very interested in that.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd be willing to come.
I'd be stoked to be there.
well, I think the next one we're gonna try to do. We just gotta figure out time, but I'll coordinate with all y'all.
Great. Awesome.
And then I think the only other thing from that conversation was just we got looped in on the Furban
Mhm.
program, which is now decarbonize Dr. Cog, I think. And essentially Furban isn't meeting anymore. And now they have working groups that like kind of were born from that, or those meetings from Furban. But there is a meeting that Britt is going to talk about building policy, that's kind of intended for like planners and such. So we'll have input there. And they think that they might restart like meetings, for Urban in the spring. But they couldn't give me like a exact timeline. But we're looped in on the emails, so their expected launch date for the Dr. Cog regional decarbonization is August 2025. Yeah. So that's basically working on like building electrification and helping like entire cities and towns decarbonize. Yeah.
The $200 million.
Yeah, finally coming down the pipeline. And on that kind of note, how about, I know Erica asked me about CC4CA and who is attending CC4CA from town right now?
So
Anybody?
I just talked with Leah Haney, and she said that I should attend those meetings.
Yes.
And so I plan on doing that.
Okay.
I believe I have an invite to the next one.
Yeah, and in particular, the policy committee is kind of where we really want to stay involved in making sure that state policy continues to open up for renewable efforts, so that we can make things like signing up for solar garden a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so December 20th
Okay.
at 9 a.m. is the next board of directors meeting. I assume they have like subcommittees for like policy and such, so.
Yeah, there's several, and usually sometimes toward the end of the year, I can't remember, it's January, February, or March, but sometime in that first quarter, they usually, set, goals for the next legislative session and, assign people to different roles on different committees. And so I think in the past, we've had the sustainability coordinator and a BOT member on two different committees. So if we had anyone interested who could, commit to attending those meetings on the BOT, that would be wonderful.
Maybe Ty.
Yeah.
But if not, then at least I would say policy committee is probably my priority.
So should I reach out to Ty or the BOT? John, do you think that's appropriate?
Let's talk about that. I think
Okay.
we could figure that out. We might want to put that on as an information or a discussion item.
Yeah.
Just see if they want to appoint somebody or how they want to do it.
Right,
But we could maybe do that separate.
okay.
Is that soon enough or do you need faster? Probably.
Well, I mean, I'll definitely go to the next meeting, but I think in terms of trying to get people on like their committees, yeah, that might.
We'll get on the schedule, take care of it.
Okay, maybe it's May, not March. Looking at the other documents.
For when they like kind of prepare for the
Yeah.
legislative session, okay.
But I would reach out to any one of them and be like, hey, see the board of directors meetings. Are there any other committee meetings coming up? Just so you can get looped into everything that they're doing. And also, reach out to Erica if you have any questions about that, because I know she's still tied in with that,
Right.
with her
With
current
your-
position down the hill.
All right.
Yeah, she may work down there, but she still keeps her
Yeah.
fingers on the pulse of things that would be available to Nederland here. Anything else on any of that stuff? I think Partners in Energy said they were gonna come back to us with some sort of proposal
Yeah.
based on how we advised them last time of what that kind of next step graduate process is gonna look like.
Yeah.
And then SAB goals.
Yeah, so I put this on there because we did talk in our last meeting about coming back to this, but I don't know if we want to do some like homework and then come back to the next meeting with more ideas for revising our goals.
I can't remember what we talked about last time as far as what we wanted to revise.
Right. I think, like, for example, we were talking about how our goal is currently to install 2 EV chargers per year. Like,
Yeah,
I think changing language for things like that. Yeah,
I guess because we're so close to 2025, I'd almost say, continue with what we have, and then in 2025, we set another batch of goals and
'Cause-
just
right.
kind of keep this as a historical document for what it was. I think one of the big things that we really wanted to get out of this document was, okay, in 2025, how far did we actually come? What was achieved?
Mhm.
And be able to show that.
So, yeah, some kind of report on that.
If you did that, you could have a pretty good budget forecast for the next several years too, to align match opportunities, and the comp plan will be adopted relatively soon too, so
Yeah.
there might be some new resources for you.
Well, and so the goal with this sustainability coordinator position is to get it off of that grant funding, right?
Yeah.
Because then that $15,000 comes available to us as funding for other projects, and that one doesn't require too much of a match. So that's kind of one of our best.
I am not clear if this is our last year of that grant it's available to us, or if we have like one more.
Is it still Leah at the county that's,
Yeah,
yes,
we're supposed to have a meeting with her. We haven't scheduled it, but yeah.
she'll let you guys know. She's been in that position the entire time that we've
Okay.
kind of had a sustainability coordinator, so she'll be able to fill you guys in on. Cause I think you and I were talking and I don't know either. It's either this year or next year, but I'm not positive.
And we also want to bring you on full time. That's the other big part of that goal.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, once that goes, then there's $15,000 every year that can go
Right.
towards sustainability
Yeah, I don't know if
projects.
it's
Well, and I could start, I would like to start coordinating with you guys
She-
maybe earlier next year so that we can build in
But John
various,
recorded me and I'm like, yes, I
budget for that.
understand.
We can do, like, for other grants
So obviously,
with them.
just
We
probably
can
really
maybe do
busy,
that, like,
just
in
like,
a year or something.
Yeah.
wants to meet about it. But
Yeah, I think it was July that we talked about setting goals again, because that's when some new board members are seated and such. So I would say tentatively July, August of 2025, we start looking at what are our next goals gonna be? What kind of budget do we need for 2026?
So setting like another like range of,
Yep, and we can pick at that time if we wanna do 2 years, 5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, okay, so the July logic is after the next, like the main driver is
Elections,
waiting
yeah.
for elections. Okay.
Yep, so it would be whoever's term comes up, right? It's a rotating number of
Yeah.
board seats that come up or whatever, and they're usually appointed in June, so then their first meeting is usually July.
actually, on that note, I talked to Tim Redder with he's on the board of the library, I believe,
Okay.
and is definitely like been spearheading their like EV charging.
Oh, is he the one that emailed?
That is the one. Well, were you on the email with Electra?
I don't know.
Electra's from the library, but
I remember somebody from the library emailing us. I just
Okay.
don't know if it was this or something else.
yeah, all I know is that Tim Redder, I talked to him and he wants to potentially join SAB. And I
Okay.
said, we have an alternate position open.
Yeah,
So like I was going to kind of fill him in on what that would look like applying for that and
Yeah.
such.
definitely.
While we're on that subject,
Mhm.
you know, I note that we only have the bare quorum
Yeah,
here tonight, and it's sort of been that way for the past while. And I know that there was an email sent out to the members of the board asking about, you know, their feelings on continuing and whatnot.
Mhm.
Apart from the people who were here tonight, is there interest in, do we know, in the other members?
I talked to Patricia on Sunday. She said she's really busy right now. She did get the email. She didn't respond. But yes, she is still interested in being on SAB. I haven't heard directly from Rab. Patricia's.
He had texted me back and said he could be in person or virtual, and I said, so that we could have quorum, could you be in person? And
Yeah,
he said yes, so.
okay.
You guys don't have bylaws.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do they say about?
There
attendance?
there should be an
You're
attendance
supposed to
thing.
have attendance unless excused.
I
Yeah, And
think,
so many excuses.
I think we actually took it out for Miranda's recommendation,
Oh.
but let me,
It's hard to.
check. Because it was in our old bylaws. That if you missed 3 meetings without notice. So for example, Rab tonight, who said, yes, I'll be there and then wasn't there. That the SAB board could then request to the BOT that they be removed. But because the BOT appoints us,
Got it.
I don't think we can vote to kick anybody off. The BOT would need to remove them.
You guys could make a recommendation through.
Yes.
Us though to fix the problem.
I would think that before we did that, we might want to just talk to the person and say, you really want to be on the SAB.
Are you required to meet every month or is it quarterly or is there a?
I don't know that we're legally required to do it, but I think that's what the bylaws call for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it would be helpful to have. Think about the structure of those meetings, or you could always have like working groups on some of these topics potentially to.
We already do that to a degree, so, I don't understand why someone would want to be on the SAB and then not participate in it.
Yeah, bylaws shall meet on the 4th Thursday of every month. if there's business to be conducted. And then we also have subcommittees that,
Right.
you know, that's kind of more where the working group stuff happens. Officers' duties. I don't see anything about attendance in here.
I think if you guys get to the point where you wanted to make a recommendation to the board about that, that'd probably be the way to handle it then.
We have done it once in the past. And the mayor denied our request.
When was that?
That was fun.
Interesting.
The mayor would have been Chris Larson. And our SAB liaison, Kevin Mueller, didn't attend like 7 meetings in a row. And we didn't have quorum for those meetings. So we asked for him to be kicked off, and they said they didn't really want to kick anybody off. So I think we gently pushed Kevin into not being our liaison anymore, or his term was up or something.
Okay.
It's a hard thing, I think, for all of us to swallow, to be like, there's a volunteer who says they want to do it, so let's, you know, give them the opportunity to show up and say, yeah, they want to do it. We at least have had quorum the last couple meetings. We can
Yeah.
meet, we can talk about stuff. I know Rab's got some great expertise that I like having on the board. And Patricia as well, with her kind of political activism side of things. She worked at the governor's office and other different things. So I don't feel like I'm ready to do that, but anyone else?
Oh, I agree.
Like you said, it might be good to talk to them first about,
Yeah.
like you said, Patricia's really busy,
Mhm.
but trying to get a feel for when she will be able to attend.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know Rab, I feel like Rab travels a lot, doesn't he? Isn't he in and out, like you, in and out? In another country for some reason. Well, I know I gave my opinion on goals and revisiting goals either now or in July. Does anybody else have any other opinions on that?
I think my opinion is just doing some prep work so that like in July we have, yeah, it'd be nice to have some pre-structure around it when we go in to discuss maybe.
So we're not having, like, starting the discussion in July, we're starting before that, and then hopefully coming to.
Or are
July.
you looking for like a bare bones? We look at some of the old goals, create kind of ideas, present them, discuss.
Yeah, I think something like that,
Okay.
probably where we've opened discussion, but haven't like not intending to like put forward an
Yeah.
agenda until July. That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
I think.
Are the old goals documents on the website?
We can get them up there if they're not.
I know the current one is, I'm just wondering if they took down like the 2021 to 2023 and the 2019 to 2021 ones when they put up the new one.
Probably we can ask Peter, but if not, we'll definitely still have them on our server.
Yeah.
To where we could distribute them.
Cause that might be good for everybody to just review. To kind of see where we've come from. I will show you all briefly. I can remember what the spreadsheet is called.
On the server,
Mhm.
okay. And do you want them back on the website or just so that SAP can?
I was just wondering if we could access them there, otherwise they should be in the drive.
And if not, I can,
2019 to 2021 is in there.
Yeah. I see 21.
don't know if I have the one in between. From 21 to 2023 or whatever it would be. I don't know if I don't see that. But where all of these goals really came from was Vision Nederland 2020 and the net zero, maybe that's it. Net zero campaign that came out of there. And that was on Trello. And it all got put into a spreadsheet, basically. What it's called, but there's a whole vault of initiatives that were basically pulled from Envision Ed 2020 that were kind of on a large spreadsheet. Some of the things SAB has worked on and come to decide they're not a fruitful project, such as like a bike library. We looked into it several times. We did a community survey, we did community outreach, and we just didn't feel like there was enough desire for it to invest in something like that, invest in that program and manage it. But it's always good to kind of revisit those things several years later and see, you know, have factors changed at all. So as we look at goals, you know, it's always good to kind of revisit those as well. Oh, gosh, I don't
Could
even.
be opportunity to have a work session with the Board of Trustees too, like in a sustainability space. And talk.
Yeah, they keep telling us they're gonna do one every year, but we haven't had one with them since 2019.
Well, we should do that
So,
next year. Maybe we could do
it's,
that before you do your planning, so you have a,
It's a thing.
A discussion with VOT.
yeah, like.
A
a
workshop.
Work session.
Yeah.
Kind of like in this setting.
So you know, at one point in time, I was told that the BOT is supposed to have a joint work session with every single board at least once in a calendar
Oh,
year.
well, that's a really good idea. I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure the
It's never
DOT is gonna
happened,
like that
but
idea.
that was the goal.
I think that they think, they don't have enough to do, really.
No, they need 4 meetings every
Yeah.
month. It's not enough. They have to go to something every
Yeah.
week. Yeah, that was kind of the intent of work sessions. It never really has actualized that way.
Well, let's see if we can figure
But-
something out there, because that would be, it'd probably be good to just have it at least annually.
I also can't find a regional EV document anymore, so when we talk to Abby next week, ask her if they ever finalize that regional plan, or if that's still like a draft document somewhere,
Okay, yeah,
just to know what the peak to peak corridor
yeah.
is supposed to look like. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda, because we don't have minutes to approve yet, so we'll work on that in December.
I sent them to Cass. I just don't know if they got included with this agenda.
They did not, and that was my.
No,
bad,
they didn't.
so. That was my bad. Next agenda, I will include them, so that we can approve them.
Thank you for putting them together and sending them over.
Yeah.
We tried. There's less than a month between our last meeting and this one, so it wasn't as much time as usual. Any other items? If not, then I will call you during the meeting at 8:55 PM.
Secondly.
Anybody opposed? Great. Meeting